Black card, no limit. I bragged. By midnight, I was begging for a free buffet ticket. My name is Marcus. I'm 34, a software engineer, and I sleep in my car behind a Walmart now. 8 months ago, I had a house with a pool, a Tesla in the garage, and my daughter's nursery painted yellow like sunshine. People think you lose everything in one bad night. You don't. You lose it in pieces while telling yourself you're winning. It started when my mother got sick. The treatment cost more than insurance would cover. I had perfect credit, a six-figure salary, and a plan. The casino felt like a solution, not a problem. First, I was careful, $20, basic strategy, going home up 50. Then mom's tumor shrank, but needed more treatment. Bigger bets. Felt logical. I sold the boat, then the Tesla, then things I can't say out loud. My wife found out when I missed my mother's last breath because I couldn't leave the table. I was down 30,000, convinced the next hand would save us all. Let me take you back to the night I flashed that black card like armor before. I learned something. When you're betting your insulin money to win back your daughter's college fund, are you still playing cards? Or are you playing God? They train you to spot the tells at dealer school, but not the ones that matter. I learned to catch a player palming chips. Notice when someone's drunk enough to cut off. Read the micro expressions that meant someone was about to hit on 17. What they don't teach you is how to recognize when someone's about to bet their life away, one hand at a time. That my name doesn't matter. For 3 years, I was just another dealer at the Celestial Casino in downtown Vegas. The kind of place that still had ashtrays built into the slot machines, even though nobody could smoke anymore. Tuesday through Saturday, swing shift, table 7 unless they needed me somewhere else. The uniform made everyone look the same. Burgundy vest, clip-on bow tie, name tag with just our first name. Mine said Jake. That Tuesday in July, the air conditioning was fighting a losing battle against the desert heat. I took over from Brenda, the day dealer, counting the chip tray while she stretched her back. 605s, 400. In 25s, the usual spread. She leaned close enough that I could smell her menthol gum. Quiet afternoon, she said. Couple regulars, nothing special. I nodded, settling onto the padded stool that had molded to the shape of 1,000 dealers before me. The felt was fresh, changed that morning, still pristine green without any drink stains or cigarette burns. Give it a week. That's when Marcus walked up to my table. He didn't look like our usual Tuesday crowd. No fanny pack, no oxygen tank, no glazed expression from 3 days without sleep. Pressed polo shirt, khakis, with an actual crease, one of those smart watches that probably cost more than I made in a month. He set a $20 bill on the felt with the kind of precision that meant he'd thought about this exact amount. Change only. I announced to the pit, spreading the bill face up on the felt before tucking it into the drop box. I counted out 4 red chips, placing them in front of him. He arranged them into a perfect stack. How's the table been? He asked, settling into the middle seat. Classic beginner move, thinking the table had moods. Just started my shift, I said, shuffling the 6 decks. Fresh start for both of us. He smiled at that, a quick thing that didn't quite reach his eyes. While I shuffled, he pulled out his phone, and I saw his lock screen light up, a woman in a hospital bed holding a tiny baby, both of them looking at whoever held the camera. He stared at it for 3 seconds exactly, then clicked the phone off and placed it face down beside his chips. Beautiful family, I said, finishing the shuffle. Yeah. He touched the phone like it might disappear. My daughter, Sophie, 3 weeks old yesterday. I set the cards in the shoe, burned the top card. Congrats. First kid, first everything. He placed a single red chip in the betting circle. $5. My wife Diane took that photo right after delivery. She insisted on a selfie, even though she'd been in labor for 16 hours. The way he said it, emphasizing the past tense, made me wonder if something had happened. But you don't ask. First rule of dealing, let them tell you what they want. To tell you I dealt the cards. Him, Jack of hearts, 6 of clubs. 16. Me, 7 of diamonds showing. Hit or stand. He studied the cards like they were lines of code. Hit. 4 of spades. 20. He exhaled, and I could see his shoulders. Drop an inch. Nice hand, I said, flipping my whole card. 5. I drew a 10. Bust. I paid out his $5, and he separated the winnings from his original bet, keeping them in 2 distinct stacks. The phone buzzed beside him. He glanced at it, frowned. but didn't pick it up. Everything okay? The question slipped out before I could stop it. You're supposed to keep it light, impersonal. Insurance company, he said, placing another $5 bet. They're fighting coverage for my mom's chemo. Apparently, stage 3 pancreatic cancer isn't medically necessary enough for the experimental treatment. The phone kept buzzing. This time he picked it up, and I heard him say something about prior authorization and appeal windows before he hung up. 3 in the morning, and my apartment felt like the inside of a toaster oven. The air conditioning had died in June, and the landlord kept saying next week, like it was a magic spell. I stood at the kitchen counter in my boxers, heating up yesterday's rice and beans, trying not to wake Tara. The microwave hummed, and I watched the bowl rotate, thinking about that. Insurance call. Prior authorization. Appeal windows. The way Marcus had gripped his phone like he was trying to squeeze blood from it, I dealt to hundreds of desperate people. The retiree who'd lost his pension to a contractor scam. The single mom who thought she could turn her tax refund into a down payment. But something about Marcus stuck with me. Maybe it was the photo, that woman in the hospital bed, exhausted but smiling. Or maybe it was the way he'd separated his winnings from his original bet, like he was trying to preserve something. The microwave beeped. I grabbed the bowl quickly, burning my fingers, cursing under my breath. You're home. Tara stood in the doorway, my old community college shirt hanging to her knees. Her hair was pulled back in the scrunchie she'd owned since high school, the purple one with the missing sequins. Sorry. Try to be quiet. She shrugged, padding over to the sink for water. I was awake anyway. Too hot to sleep. We stood there, in the dark kitchen, me eating standing up, her sipping water from a gas station cup we'd had for 6 months. The only light came from the parking lot outside, yellow sodium bleeding through the blinds. Good night? She asked, the same question every time. 87 in tips. That's good, right? It's fine. I did the math I'd been doing all drive home. Rent was due Friday. We were 400 short. 87 helped, but it wasn't enough. Never was. She moved closer, and I could smell her shampoo, the cheap strawberry kind from the dollar store. Maybe I could pick up extra shifts at the restaurant. You're already working 50 hours. So are you. We'd had this conversation before. Different words, same shape. The grinding arithmetic of barely making it, the weight of it pressing down like the heat. There was this guy tonight, I said, not sure why I was telling her. Software engineer. His mom has cancer, and insurance won't cover the treatment she needs. That's awful. Yeah, he was betting $5 a hand. Like he'd calculated exactly what he could afford to lose. She studied my face. But nothing. Just, I don't know. The way he looked at his phone. Picture of his wife and baby. Like he was checking to make sure they were still real. Tara set down her cup, wrapped her arms around my waist from behind. Her cheek pressed against my back, and I could feel her heartbeat through my skin. You can't save them all, she said quietly. I'm not trying to save anyone. I'm just dealing cards. Sure you are. We stood like that for a minute, the only sound the ancient refrigerator wheezing in the corner. Finally, she let go, headed back to bed. Your mom called earlier, she said from the doorway. She needs you to stop by tomorrow. Something about her prescriptions. Of course she did. Mom always needed something. A ride to the doctor, help with the cable bill, someone to fix the leaking faucet. Not that I blamed her. 68 years old, oxygen tank her constant companion, trying to survive on Social Security and prayers. I'll go before work. Jake. Tara's voice was small in the dark. We're going to be okay, right? I wanted to tell her yes. Wanted to say that next month would be different, that I'd find a better job, that we'd get out of this apartment with its dying appliances and roach problem. Instead, I said, yeah, we're good. She disappeared into the bedroom. I finished my rice and beans, washed the bowl, set it in the rack to dry. My phone lit up with a text from the pit boss. High roller requesting you tomorrow. Double shift if you want it. Double shift meant 16 hours on my feet, dealing to people like Marcus who thought the cards might save them. It also meant maybe 300 in tips if I was lucky. Enough to make a dent in what we owed. I texted back. I'll be there. Outside, someone's car alarm went off, cycling through its whole repertoire of annoying sounds before finally giving up. I thought about Marcus again, about that insurance company fighting him over his mother's treatment. Wondered how much that experimental therapy cost. Wondered if he'd be back. Mom's apartment smelled like medicine and daytime TV. She sat in her recliner, the oxygen tank hissing beside her like a tired snake, watching Judge Judy tear into some guy about unpaid rent. The irony wasn't lost on me. He's lying, she said without looking up. Look at his hands. Liars always fidget with their hands. I set the grocery bags on her kitchen counter. Generic cereal, white bread, the peanut butter that was mostly oil, bananas turning brown. $23 worth of survival. Hi to you too, Mom. She clicked the TV to mute, but kept watching. You look tired. I'm fine. You're working at that place again tonight, aren't you? That place. She never called it a casino. Like if she didn't name it, it wasn't real. It's my job, Mom. It's a trap, is what it is. She finally looked at me, and I could see she'd been crying. Her eyes were red-rimmed, the skin beneath them tissue paper thin. Your father worked at a place like that. Didn't deal cards, but he might as well have. We didn't talk about Dad. Hadn't in the 15 years since he'd walked out with a cocktail. Waitress named Brandy and a gambling debt that took Mom a decade to pay off. But sometimes, like now, he crept into conversations anyway. I opened her medicine organizer, the one with the days of the week in faded letters. Monday through Wednesday were empty. Thursday had half a pill. Mom, where's your heart medication? She waved her hand dismissively. I'm stretching it out. Those pills are $60 a month, even with Medicare. You can't stretch heart medication. I can and I am. I take half every other day instead of one daily. Same amount, just spread different. That's not how it works. Don't lecture me about how things work. She turned the volume back up. Judge Judy was announcing her verdict. The fidgety guy lost. I pulled two 20s from my wallet, the last of yesterday's tips, and set them on her side table. She looked at the money like it might bite her. I don't need your charity. It's not charity. It's me helping my mom. With money from that place. Money's money, Mom. She picked up the bills, folded them carefully, tucked them into the pocket of her housecoat. We both knew she'd use them. Pride was a luxury she couldn't afford. Cheryl called yesterday, she said, changing the subject. Your ex. She's engaged to that realtor. They're having a spring wedding. Cheryl. 2 years gone, but Mom still acted like we might get back together. She'd never understood why Cheryl left, but I did. Hard to build a future with someone who worked nights, weekends, holidays. Someone who came home smelling like cigarette smoke and other people's desperation. Good for her. She asked about you. I told her you were doing well. I am doing well. Mom snorted. Living in that Roach motel with the new girl. Working at that place. Giving me your last $40. That's your definition of well. Her name is Tara. We've been together 8 months. 8 months. She shook her head. Your father and I were married 23 years. You know what I learned? Time doesn't mean anything if you're spending it in the wrong place. I started to argue, then stopped. Check my watch. 2:30. If I left now, I could make it to work early, maybe grab something from the employee cafeteria before my shift. I have to go. Of course you do. She turned back to the TV. There's a commercial coming on. That lawyer, the one with the hair, says he can get you money if you've been in an accident. You haven't been in an accident. Not yet. I kissed the top of her head. Her hair was thin, and I could see her scalp, pink and vulnerable. Get your medicine, Mom. All of it. Drive safe, she said, which was what she always said instead of I love you. The drive back to the casino took me through the part of Vegas tourists never see. Pawn shops, payday loan places, weekly motels with optimistic names like Paradise Inn and Lucky Stars. I stopped at a red light next to a billboard. Win big, live bigger. A woman in a cocktail dress throwing dice, her smile photoshopped to impossible brightness. The employee parking lot was half full when I arrived. I parked next to a Honda with a repossession notice under the wiper. 2 spots over, a Ford with another one. Pink papers fluttering in the desert wind like desperate flags that I counted 5 repos total on my walk to the employee entrance. 5 people, like me, one bad night away from losing their transportation. 5 people who'd probably dealt cards or served drinks to folks like Marcus, watching them bet money they couldn't afford to lose while we counted tips we couldn't afford. Not to make. The employee door required a key code. As I punched it in, I wondered what Marcus was doing right now. Probably at his real job, writing code, solving problems that had actual solutions that I clocked in 3 minutes early, and headed to table 7. Marcus was already at my table when I got there, but everything was different. The $20 bills had become hundreds, 5 of them spread across the felt like a fan. His polo shirt was untucked, and there was a coffee stain on the collar that looked hours old. "Welcome back," I said, settling onto my stool. "Never left," he said, then laughed. "Kidding. I went home, came back." Sophie wouldn't stop crying. "Colic, they think." I converted his cash to chips, $500 in greens and reds. He'd been here long enough to know the colors mattered. Green meant 25. Red meant 5. Black meant 100. But we didn't have many of those at table 7. The Friday night crowd was picking up. Every table full, the slot machines singing their electronic songs, cocktail waitresses weaving between players like they were dancing. Marcus ordered whiskey, neat. Last week it had been water. His phone rang. He answered without looking at the screen. "Yes, I understand the clinical trial costs $70,000. No, insurance denied the appeal. I'm working on it." He hung up, placed $100 in the betting circle. I wanted to say something, but what? Don't bet money you need for your mother's cancer treatment? That wasn't my job. My job was to deal with. He lost the first hand. And the second. On the third, he doubled down on 11 against my 6, pulling another 100 from his wallet. The next card was a 3. 14. He stood. I flipped a 10, then busted with another 10. "Finally," he muttered, pulling the chips toward him. For the next hour, I watched him ride the waves. Up 800, down 600, up 400, down 1,000. His phone kept buzzing, but he'd stopped answering. At one point, he pulled out another photo, not the one of his wife and baby, but an older woman at what looked like a baptism, holding Sophie in a white dress. "My mom," he said, though I hadn't asked. 6 months ago, before the diagnosis. She looked healthy in the photo, smiling. One of those grandma smiles that made you believe everything would be okay. "The trial starts Monday," he said, placing another $100 bet. "If I can get the deposit. 20,000 to start, 50 more over 6 months. 70% success rate." He won that hand. And the next 3. Suddenly, he was up 2,000. He could have walked away. Should have. "Sir," Tammy, the pit boss on duty, appeared at his shoulder. "We'd like to offer you a marker. You qualify for our gold tier. 5,000 instant credit." Marcus looked at the chips in front of him, then at the photo of his mother. "Sure," he said. "Why not? Tuesday afternoon, my day off." I was comparing prices on pasta sauce when I heard my name. "Jake." Marcus stood 3 feet away, pushing a shopping cart with a baby carrier attached. Sophie was grabbing at something invisible in the air, making those baby sounds that weren't quite words yet. He had a basket full of formula, diapers, and the store-brand versions of everything. "Hey," I said, suddenly aware of my own generic choices. "Didn't expect to see you here." He looked different in daylight. Older, more tired. There were formula stains on his shirt. "Day off," I said, then immediately felt stupid. Obviously, it was my day off. "Same. Well, sort of. Working from home. Today." He gestured vaguely at Sophie. "Daycare's closed." Burst pipe. We stood there awkwardly, 2 people who knew each other in one context trying to exist in another. Sophie made a squeaking sound and kicked her feet. "She's beautiful," I said, "because that's what you say." "Gets it from her mom." He reached into the diaper bag, and I saw him pull out an insulin pen, check it, then put it back. "Sorry, just making sure I have it. Diabetic. Type 1. Been forgetting things lately." "That's rough. Gambling with my health too, right?" He laughed, but it sounded hollow. "That's what Diane says." As if summoned, a woman appeared at the end of the aisle. Even exhausted. And she looked exhausted. She was pretty in that way that made you understand why someone would want to take her photo after 16 hours of labor. She wore scrubs, a hospital ID badge still clipped to the pocket. "Marcus, they don't have the regular wipes. Should I get—" She stopped when she saw me. "Diane, this is Jake. He's a colleague." The pause before colleague told her everything. Her expression shifted, not quite suspicious, but definitely alert. "Nice to meet you," she said carefully. "You too." She looked at Marcus, then at me, then back at Marcus. "We should go. I have to get back for my shift." "You just got off your shift," Marcus said, picking up another one. "Rent's due." They exchanged a look that contained an entire argument. Sophie started fussing, and Diane picked her up, bouncing her gently. "It was nice meeting you," she said again, already walking away. Marcus grabbed a jar of the cheapest peanut butter, tossed it in his cart. She knows, he said quietly. About the casino. Not everything, but enough. It's none of my business. No, it's not. He started pushing the cart away, then stopped. You ever wonder if you're the bad guy in someone else's story? Before I could answer, he was gone, following his wife and daughter toward checkout. I stood there holding my generic pasta sauce, thinking about his question. Then I thought about my mother rationing heart pills, about Tara picking up extra shifts, about the $500 in chips Marcus had lost last Friday. Yeah, I wondered. The August heat wave broke the casino's air conditioning on a Saturday night. The whole floor smelled like sweat and desperation, with industrial fans set up every 20 feet, moving the hot air around like a convection oven. Marcus had 3 positions going at once, 500 on each hand, playing against my 6 showing. Sweat ran down his forehead, and not just from the heat. He'd already blown through his $5,000 marker from last week and was working on a second one. The treatment's working, he said, apropos of nothing. Tumor shrank 30%. That's great, I said, dealing him 2 sevens and a soft 18. Cost me my boat, though. 20-footer. Bought it when I got my signing bonus. He split the sevens. Sold it yesterday. Guy lowballed me, but I needed the cash fast. I dealt him a 10 on the first 7. 17. A 4 on the second. Another 11. He doubled down, throwing another 500 in chips forward. I dealt him a king. 21. See, he said. Sometimes the universe balances out. An older woman at the table, a retired teacher named Margaret who came in every weekend to play $20 hands, shook her head. Honey, the universe doesn't know you exist. Marcus laughed, but it had an edge. Sure it does. It knows exactly who I am. The guy who'll bet his daughter's college fund if the cards are right. You didn't. Margaret said that he didn't answer, just pushed another 500 forward. The fans whirred overhead, and I could hear someone at the craps table screaming about making their point. I dealt. Marcus got 20. I had 17. Finally, he said, pulling the chips toward him. I'm investing in hope here. That's not investing. Margaret said. I know what it is. His voice went sharp. You think I don't know? My mom's dying. Actually dying. Not maybe dying, or could be dying. The doctor used the word terminal like it was nothing. Like saying rain or Thursday. So yeah, I'm here, betting money I don't have on cards that don't care, because what else am I supposed to do? Watch. Pray. Accept it. Margaret gathered her chips, stood up. I'm sorry about your mother, she said. But you've got a baby. That baby needs a father more than your mother needs a miracle. She left. Marcus watched her go, then turned back. To me. Deal, he said that I dealt. For the next 3 hours, I watched him swing between 5,000 up and 8,000 down. When his second marker ran out, Raymond, the pit boss, appeared like magic. Mr. Winters? We've reviewed your account. You qualify for our platinum tier. 50,000 instant credit line. Would you be interested? Marcus looked at his empty chip rack. At his phone, which had been buzzing nonstop. At me. 50,000. He repeated. Yes, sir. Instant approval. He pulled out his phone, looked at that baptism photo again. His mother holding Sophie, both of them glowing with life. Okay, he said. Approved. 3 weeks into September, and Marcus had become part of the furniture. He'd arrive at 6, leave at 2, sometimes 3 in the morning. The other dealers knew him by name. The cocktail waitresses knew his drink. Even the security guards nodded when he walked past. He'd stopped checking his phone between hands. You know what's funny? He said, watching me shuffle. It was a Wednesday night, slow. Enough that we had the table to ourselves. I used to debug code for 12 hours straight. Find one missing semicolon in 30,000 lines. Loved it. The hunt, you know. I dealt him a 13. He hit. 21. This is the same thing, he continued. Pattern recognition. Probability. Except the variables are cards instead of code. Code doesn't take your money when you're wrong. I said, immediately regretting it. He laughed. Sure it does. Just slower. Make enough mistakes, you lose your job. Lose your job, you lose everything else. He placed another $1,000 bet. At least here, it's honest. Direct transaction. My money for my hope. Raymond came by, whispered something in Marcus's ear. Marcus nodded, pulled out his Amex Black card. The Centurion, the one that supposedly has no limit. Transfer another 20, he told Raymond. From this. I'd never seen anyone transfer from a credit card to casino credit before. Didn't even. No, you could. But Raymond took the card like it was nothing special, came back 5 minutes later with the confirmation. You're all set, Mr. Winters. Marcus had started playing all 7 spots at our table, 1,000 on each. The maximum. Other players had to wait for him to finish or find another table. Most found another table. I had a system, he said after. Losing 4 hands in a row. At work. Version control. Never deploy on Friday. Always have a rollback plan. Test everything twice. What's your rollback plan here? The question slipped out. He looked at me. Really looked at me for the first time. In weeks. His eyes were bloodshot, and I could smell him. Not body odor exactly, but that smell of someone who's been breathing recycled air too long. There isn't one, he said. That's what makes it interesting. His phone rang. He looked at the screen. Declined the call. Wife? I asked. Mother-in-law. Diane's working tonight. Again. Picked up 3 extra shifts this week. He placed another 7,000 across the spots. We're behind on mortgage. Funny thing, I could pay it with one good run. 15 minutes of the right cards, and we're clear. I dealt. He lost 5 spots, 1-2. Down 3,030 seconds. Or not, he said. Around midnight, a new player sat down. Young guy, maybe 25, nervous. First time, Marcus asked him. Yeah, birthday. Marcus pushed a $100 chip toward him. On me. Birthday luck. The kid looked stunned. I can't. Sure you can. Pass it on someday. The kid played 3 hands, turned the 100 into 300, and left, thanking Marcus profusely. That was nice, I said. I'm not a bad person, Marcus said, like he was trying to convince himself. I'm just stuck. The call came while Marcus was mid-hand. Saturday night, October something. The days had started blurring together. He had 20 showing, and I was waiting for him to make a decision when his phone lit up with Diane across the screen that he stared at it. Let it ring. Let it go to voicemail. Stand. He said that I flipped my cards. 19. He lost another 1,000. The phone rang again. This time he answered. I'm at work, he said. Then, what do you mean, declined? He stood up from the table, phone pressed to his ear, and I could hear Diane's voice, high and tight with panic. Something about the mortgage payment. The credit. Cards. All of them maxed. That's impossible, he said. I have a $100,000 limit on the Amex alone. But even as he said it, his face changed. He knew exactly where that 100,000 had gone. I'll fix it, he said. I'll figure it out. He hung up, sat back down, and pushed his remaining chips forward. About 3,000. All of it, he said. Sir, you sure you want to deal the cards, Jake? I dealt. He got 11. Doubled. Down with money he didn't have, pulling a marker slip from Raymond without even looking at it. I dealt him a 9. 20. I had 21. He laughed, but it sounded like breaking glass. You know what I told myself when I started? He said, signing another marker. Just enough to help with mom's treatment. Supplement the insurance. Maybe. 10, 15,000. Smart bets. Calculated risks. Marcus, my daughter's college fund had 18,000 in it. Had. Past tense. He placed another bet. Sold my car Thursday. Uber's been costing me a fortune, but you know what? I won. 12,000 that night. 12. So it was worth it, right? Maybe you should take a break. Maybe you should deal. I dealt. He lost. Signed another marker. Lost again. A woman appeared at his shoulder. Not Diane, but similar enough that I did a double take. His sister, maybe. She had the same exhausted look. Everyone connected to Marcus was developing. Marcus, mom's asking for you. I'm busy, Patricia. She's having a bad night. The pain medication isn't working. She keeps asking where you are. Tell her I'm at work. Patricia looked at the chips, at me, at the casino floor. This isn't work, Marcus. This is, I know what. It is. His voice was dangerous now. I'm trying to save her life. You think that treatment money appears from nowhere? You think insurance suddenly changed their mind? She doesn't want this. She told me. She'd rather die than have you destroy yourself trying to save her. Marcus stood up so fast his chair tipped backward. Don't you dare. Don't you dare tell me what she wants. Security materialized, the way they do when voices get raised. Patricia put her hand on Marcus's arm. Come see her, please, before it's too late. 1 more hour, Marcus said. I'm close to breaking even. 1 more hour, and I'll come. Patricia looked at me. I don't know what she saw in my face, but she shook her head. She might not have another hour, Marcus. She has to. The treatment isn't working anymore. The doctors told us yesterday. You would know that if you answered your phone. Marcus sat down heavily. His chips, about $2,000 worth, sat in front of him like accusatory evidence. But I'm so close, he whispered. I can feel it. The next hand, or the one after. I'm due. You're done, Patricia said. Please. He didn't move. She waited another minute, then left. Marcus pushed his chips forward. Deal. He said that I found Marcus in the parking lot at 4 in the morning, sitting on a concrete barrier, still in his clothes from the night before. I'd just finished my shift, and there he was, staring at nothing. Shouldn't you be home? I asked. Diane changed the locks. He said it matter-of-factly, like mentioning the weather. Well, she didn't change them. She added a chain. Same thing, really. I sat down next to him. The parking lot was mostly empty, just a few cars belonging to the grave shift workers and the really desperate gamblers. Your mom died yesterday. While I was at the table, Patricia called 6 times. I saw the calls. He shrugged. I was up 8,000. First time in 2 weeks. Thought if I could get to 20, maybe 30, I could at least pay for the funeral. I'm sorry. I lost it all by the 7th call. Wasn't even answering by then. Couldn't. What would I say? Sorry, Mom. I'm busy losing our house. A security guard walked past, nodded at me, ignored Marcus. Just another broken gambler in the parking lot. Vegas was full of them. You know the last thing she said to me. Marcus continued. She said, take care of Sophie. Not I love you, or goodbye. Just take care of Sophie. Like she knew I wouldn't. Like she knew what I'd become. You haven't become anything. You're just what? Going through a rough patch? Having a bad run. He laughed bitterly. I asked Diane for insulin money yesterday. Insulin. I needed to live, and I asked my wife for $40 because I'd lost my prescription money on a pair of 8s. He pulled out his phone, showed me a text from Diane. Your daughter asked where Daddy went. I didn't know what to tell her. She's 7 months old, he said. She can't even really talk yet. But Diane wanted me to know. Sophie knows I'm gone. You can fix this. With what? I owe the casino $90,000. 90? That's more than I make in a year. I owe Visa, MasterCard, Amex. I took a loan against my 401k. I sold everything worth selling and some things that weren't. He pulled out his wallet, empty except for a driver's license and the photo of his mother. I sold plasma yesterday. Twice. Different centers. Lied about the first one. Got $60 total. Lost it in 10 minutes. Marcus, want to know the really sick part? I'm thinking about that $60 right now. How I should have bet it different. Should have played the outside. Should have waited for a different table. Like the problem was strategy, not the fact that I was betting my blood. A taxi pulled up. Marcus stood. Where are you going? Mom's house. Need to pick something for her to wear. Patricia can't do it alone. He paused. You ever have to pick out clothes for a dead person? They ask these questions. Does she prefer long sleeves or short? Like it matters. Like she's going to complain. About being cold. You need a ride? I've got my car. No, I need. He stopped, looked back at the casino. Even from here, you could hear the noise. Bells, music, the constant promise of more. I need to not come back here. Okay, but I will. We both know I will. Tomorrow, or the day after. As soon as I get $20 I can spare. Except there are no spare dollars anymore. Haven't been for months. The taxi driver honked. Your fault, you know, Marcus said, but there was no heat in it. If you dealt me better cards. Yeah, I said. My fault. He got in the taxi. I watched it drive away, then went back inside to get my tips from the cage. $112. I thought about Marcus selling his blood for $60 when I got home. Tara was awake, getting ready for her morning shift. You okay? She asked. You look rough. Player I know. His mom died. That's sad. Yeah. She kissed me goodbye, told me there was leftover Chinese in the fridge. I sat at our small table, counting my tips again. $112. Rent was due in 3 days. We were still short. I thought about Marcus, picking out clothes for his dead mother. Thought about Sophie, asking where Daddy went. Thought about my role in all of it. Then I put the money in our rent envelope and tried to sleep. The funeral was on a Tuesday. I knew because Marcus told me about it the night before, sitting at my table with $40 he'd gotten from selling plasma again. 2 o'clock, he said, placing a $10 bet. Sacred Heart Cemetery. Patricia's handling everything because I can't even afford flowers. I dealt him a 19. He stayed. I had 20. I'm not going, he said. To your mother's funeral? What's the point? She's dead. I failed her. Everyone there will know it. He placed another $10 bet. Diane will be there. With Sophie. Haven't seen them in a week. Maybe that's why you should go. He laughed. So they can see what I've become? Look at me, Jake. I did. His beard was patchy, grown and uneven. His shirt, the same polo from weeks ago, had stains I didn't want to identify. He'd lost weight, enough that his wedding ring slid loose on his finger. I see someone grieving, I said. You see a degenerate gambler who chose cards over his mother's last hours. I couldn't argue with that because we both knew it was true. He lost the next 3 hands, down to his last $10. Know what's funny, he said. I'm a software engineer. Was. AM. I don't know anymore. Haven't been to work in 2 weeks. Used all my sick days, vacation days, then just stopped showing up. They're probably processing my termination right now. Jesus, Marcus. But here's the funny part. I could write an algorithm. Right now, on a napkin, that would prove mathematically that what I'm doing is insane. Expected value, house edge, gambler's ruin. I know all the concepts. I could teach a class on why you can't beat the house. He pushed his last $10 forward. But knowing and feeling are different things. And what I feel is that the next hand could change everything. Has to. I've lost so much that probability says I'm due to win. That's not how math works, I know that, but it's how hope works. I dealt him a blackjack. Paid him $15. See, he said. Hope. He played for another hour, turning that 25 into 60, then back down to 20, then up to 40. At midnight, Raymond came over. Mr. Winters? We need to discuss your account. Marcus didn't look up from his cards. I'm good. For it. Sir, you're at 93,000. Your credit cards have all been declined. We need to make arrangements. I'll pay. When I win. Raymond sighed. He'd had this conversation before, with other people, at other tables. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step away from the table. I have $40 in chips. You can cash those out. Marcus looked at me, and for a second, I saw him clearly. Not the gambler, not the grieving son, but the man he'd been before all this. Someone who'd had a life, a plan, people who loved him. One more hand, he said. Please. Raymond looked at me. I shouldn't have done it, but I nodded. One hand, Raymond said. Marcus pushed all $40 forward. I dealt him a 12. He hit. 21 that he didn't celebrate. Just watched as I paid him out. $80. Again, he said. Sir, one more. Raymond walked away. He'd done his job. Marcus pushed the 80 forward that I dealt him a 20. I had $19,160. He looked at the chips, like they were alien artifacts. I could buy flowers, he said quietly. For her grave. That's a good idea. Or I could turn this into 1,000. Pay for part of the casket. Marcus, deal the cards. Your mother's funeral is tomorrow. Deal the cards, Jake. I dealt. He got a 14. Hit. Busted that he stared at. The empty space where his chips had been. I'll get more, he said. I'll sell something. I'll figure it out. He stood up, and I saw him clearly in the casino light. His eyes were hollow, his hands shaking slightly, low blood sugar, probably. Hadn't been taking his insulin. Go to the funeral, I said. With what flowers? He asked, and walked away. Raymond came back over. You need to stop enabling him. I'm just dealing cards. No, you're not. You're watching a man die by 1,000 cuts, and you're holding the knife. I wanted to argue, but what was the point? He was right. We all were, Raymond. Me, the casino. All of us right. All of us complicit. I dealt the rest of my shift to strangers, their faces blurring together. At 2 o'clock, while Marcus's mother was being lowered into the ground, I was dealing blackjack to a bachelorette party. They were laughing, having fun, playing $20. Hence they could afford to lose. That's what it was supposed to be. Entertainment. Fun. Not whatever Marcus and I had turned it into. Marcus didn't come back for 5 days. I told myself it was because he was grieving, maybe at the funeral, maybe reconnecting with his family. I knew better. Wednesday night, Tara asked me why I kept checking the casino in trance. Just wondering where someone is, I said, shuffling. Cards for no one. The guy whose mom died. Yeah. She was quiet for a minute. You know, when my dad was drinking, near the end, I used to check the bars. drive around looking for his truck. Like I could save him just by finding him. This is different. Is it? Thursday night. Slow enough that I was dealing to myself. Just muscle memory. Raymond appeared with that look pit bosses get when they have bad news. Your friend's back, he said. But not at a table. I found Marcus in the bathroom, passed out in a stall. The smell hit me first. Vomit, urine, and something sweeter. Diabetic ketoacidosis. I'd smelled it before when Mom's neighbor went into a coma. Marcus. I shook his shoulder. His skin was cold, clammy. His eyes opened, unfocused. Jake? I was. Just resting. When did you last take your insulin? Tuesday? Maybe Monday. He tried to sit up, couldn't. Sold my prescription. Got $40. Lost it on red. I called 911. While we waited, I held his head up, kept him talking. Sophie's walking, he mumbled. Diane sent a video. 9 months old, already walking. That's early. Smart kid. Gets it from her mom. His voice was getting weaker. I missed it, Jake. Her first steps. I was here, betting grocery money on hard ways. The paramedics arrived, professional and efficient. As they wheeled him out, Marcus grabbed my hand. Tell Diane, he said. Tell her I'm sorry. But I didn't have her number, and I wouldn't have known what to say anyway. 3 days later, Marcus was back. Not just back, he was flush. New clothes, new shoes, the smell of expensive cologne instead of desperation. He had a briefcase full of cash, the kind you see in movies. Insurance payout, he explained, settling into his usual seat. Life insurance on Mom. $250,000. I stared at the money. More than I'd make in 5 years. You could pay off everything. I said. Start over. I could. He counted out 20,000, converted it to chips. Or I could turn this into $500,000. Set Sophie up for life. Buy Diane a house, cash. Marcus, I know what you're going to say. But look at it logically. I've been playing scared money, desperate money. That's why I kept losing. This is different. This is opportunity money. He placed 5,000 on his first hand. More money than I'd seen bet at my table in 6 months. Won it. Placed 10,000 on the next hand. Won that too. See, he said, grinning for the first time since I'd known him. Clear head, patient play. It's a whole different game. For the next 2 hours, I watched him play perfect basic strategy. He was up 40,000, methodical and calm. This wasn't the desperate man from last week. This was the software engineer, calculating odds and managing risk. I should have done this from the beginning, he said during a shuffle break. Emotional betting is what killed me. This is business. A crowd had gathered. High roller action drew attention, and Marcus was putting on a show. Up 50,000 now, betting with the confidence of someone who knew something the rest of US didn't. Raymond hovered nearby, watching carefully. 50,000 was real money, even to a casino. Then Marcus got greedy. All of it, he said, pushing his entire stack forward. $70,000. One hand, double or nothing. The crowd pressed closer. Even the other dealers were watching. 70,000 on a single hand of blackjack. I'd heard about bets like this, but never seen one. My hands were shaking as I dealt. Marcus got a 12. I showed a 6. Basic strategy said hit. But 70,000 isn't basic strategy money. Hit, he said quietly. 9. 21. The crowd cheered. Marcus smiled that old smile, the one from the grocery store, when Sophie was still just a baby and the world made sense. I flipped my whole card. 5. 11 total. Drew a 10. 21 push. Tie game, but Marcus didn't see it that way. He saw it as survival, as validation. He'd risked everything and broken even. In his mind, that was winning. Again, he said. The news crew arrived on Marcus's 3rd night. As a high roller. Local television, fluff piece about a guy who'd turned insurance money into $250,000 at the blackjack table. Marcus ate up the attention, gave interviews about strategy and probability theory. It's applied mathematics, he told the reporter. I'm not gambling. I'm investing in statistical variance. What he didn't tell them was that he hadn't been home in 3 days, or that Diane had filed divorce papers, or that he'd been taking advance after advance against his credit line, signing for money that existed only on paper. You're up 200,000, I said during a break. Cash out. Walk away. And do what? Go back to my empty apartment? My dead-end job that I probably don't have anymore. He gestured at the casino floor. This is where I belong now. This is what I'm good at. He wasn't wrong. In 3 days, He'd become legendary among the dealers. Perfect basic strategy, never wavering, managing his bankroll like a professional. The other high rollers watched him play, trying to learn from his system, but I'd seen this movie before. Not the winning part, that was new, but the part where winning becomes as addictive as losing. Maybe more. I want to show you something, Marcus said, pulling out his phone. A new video from Diane. Sophie taking her first real steps, walking from the couch to her mother's arms. The baby's face was pure joy, that universal happiness that comes from mastering something impossible. She's beautiful, I said. I sent Diane $50,000 yesterday. Paid off the mortgage, the credit cards. She cried. His voice was soft. Happy tears, for the first time in months. That's good, Marcus. But it's not enough. Sophie's college fund, medical emergencies, retirement. $50,000 doesn't go as far as you'd think. He placed another $10,000 bet. I need to get to $1 million. Then I can really provide for them. I dealt him a blackjack. 15,000 profit in 30 seconds. See, I'm not the same person who started this. I've evolved. Adapted. He touched the screen, Sophie's face frozen mid-giggle. She's going to have everything I never did. Private schools, tutors, summer camps. A trust fund so she never has to worry. What about having her father? Marcus looked at me, and for a second, the mask slipped. I saw the exhaustion, the isolation, the growing paranoia that came from spending too much time in artificial light. She'll understand when she's older, he said, when she sees what I built for her. But as he said it, I wondered if he was talking about Sophie or trying to convince himself. The crash came on a Thursday. Marcus had been riding high for almost 2 weeks. His $250,000 turning into $400,000, then back down to $200,000, then up to $600,000. The swings were enormous, but he maintained his discipline, his mathematical approach. Then I dealt him 3 consecutive hands that basic strategy said he should win. He lost all 3. $60,000 in 3 minutes. Variance, he muttered. But his voice had changed. The confidence was cracking that he tried to get it back methodically, betting $20,000 per hand, playing perfect cards. But the deck had turned cold. In an hour, he was down to $100,000. Then 50. Then 20. This is temporary, he said. But he was sweating again, that familiar panic creeping back in. Statistical anomaly. It has to correct. I wanted to tell him that cards don't know about correction. That probability doesn't have memory. But he knew that better than I did. He'd written code that proved it. The crowd had thinned. Nobody wants to watch someone lose, especially someone they'd been rooting for. The reporter who'd done the fluff piece was nowhere to be seen. Down to his last 10,000, Marcus made the call that ended everything. I need another marker, he told Raymond. Sir, you're already extended to your limit. Then increase my limit. I'm good for it. Raymond disappeared, came back with casino management. Suits I'd never seen before, the kind who only appeared when serious money was involved. Mr. Winters, we need to discuss your account. I'll pay it back. I just need to get even. Sir, you owe us $320,000. Your insurance money is gone. Your credit cards are maxed. What exactly will you pay us with? Marcus pulled out his phone, showed them the video of Sophie walking. I'll figure it out. I always do. The suits exchanged looks. They'd seen this before, too. Sir, we're going to have to ask you to step away from the table. I have 10,000 in chips. Cash them out. You're done. Marcus looked at the chips in front of him, all that remained of his mother's life insurance. Then at me. One more. Hand, he asked that I shook my head. Some things you can enable, even with the best intentions that he gathered his chips and walked to the cage. I watched him go, knowing I'd probably never see him again. At least not the Marcus I'd come to know. The Marcus who'd come back wouldn't be a software engineer with a plan. He'd be something else entirely that I didn't see Marcus for 3 weeks. Then Diane appeared at my table on a Tuesday night. Sophie asleep in her car seat, looking fragile and determined. You're Jake, she said. It wasn't a question. Yeah, Marcus talks about you. The dealer who tried to help. She sat down at the far end of the table, away from the betting circles. He's living in his car. Did you know that? I dealt to my only other player, an old-timer who played $5 hands with military precision. He pretended not to listen, but I could see him tracking our conversation. I hadn't seen him, I said. He comes here every day. Not to play. He doesn't have money to play. Just to watch. Security throws him out. He comes back an hour later. She adjusted Sophie's blanket. The baby stirred but didn't wake. He's sick, Jake. Really sick. Not just the diabetes, though that's bad enough. He's broken. I'm sorry. Are you? Because I've been thinking about that. About your role in all this. Her voice was quiet but sharp. You dealt to him for months. Watched him destroy our family one hand at a time. What did you think was going to happen? The old-timer cashed out, left us alone. The casino noise felt distant, muffled. I thought about stopping him. I said. But what? It wasn't your job. Diane laughed bitterly. You know what his job was? Writing software to help diabetic kids monitor their blood sugar. Actual kids, Jake. 8, 9 years old, learning to manage a disease that could kill them. That's what he did with his brain when it was working. Sophie made a small sound, and Diane rocked the car seat gently. He called me yesterday, begged me to take him back. Said he had a plan to win back everything he'd lost. A new system. She looked at me directly. Do you know what I told him? I didn't answer. I told him he was dead to me. That Sophie would grow up thinking her father died in a car accident or something. Anything but the truth. Tears started, but she kept talking. Because how do you explain to your daughter that daddy loved cards more than he loved her? Diane, he's going to kill himself, Jake. Maybe not literally, maybe not on purpose, but he's going to die. And when he does, I want you to remember this conversation. I want you to remember that someone tried to tell you it mattered. She stood up, gathered Sophie's things. If you see him, she said, don't deal to him. Please, whatever humanity you have left, use it for that. After she left, I sat alone at my table for 20 minutes, dealing cards to empty seats, thinking about Marcus writing code to help sick children while slowly killing himself 20 feet from where I Saturday Raymond found me there. You okay? No, I said. I don't think I am. Marcus came back on a Saturday night, but he wasn't a player anymore. He was a ghost, hovering at the edges, watching the action with hollow eyes. Security escorted him out twice, but he kept coming back. Drawn by some magnetic pull, I was starting to understand that I watched him from my table, dealing to tourists and regulars, but tracking his movement through the casino. He'd found ways to blend in, cleaning tables when the busboys weren't looking, emptying ashtrays that hadn't been used since the smoking ban, making himself useful enough that security might overlook him for a few more minutes. During my break, I found him in the employee parking lot, sitting in what used to be a Honda Civic but now looked like a mobile storage unit. Clothes, papers, empty fast food containers filled every available space. The smell of someone living in too small a space for too long. Hey, I said, knocking on the window. He rolled it down. Up close, he looked like he'd aged 5 years in the past month. His beard was full now, unkempt. His clothes were the same. Ones he'd worn as a high roller, but dirty, wrinkled. Jake. He smiled, and it was heartbreaking how genuine it seemed. How are the tables tonight? Marcus, you can't keep coming here. I'm not gambling. Can't gamble without money. He gestured at his living situation. Besides, where else am I going to go? This is where I belong now. You belong with your family. No, I don't. Diane made that clear. He pulled out his phone, showed me the last text from her. Stop calling. Stop texting. Sophie and I are moving on. You should too. She's scared, Marcus. Scared and hurt. That doesn't mean, it means exactly what it says. He put the phone away. You know what I've been thinking about? That first night I came to your table. $20, careful and methodical. I was a different person then. You can be that person again. Can I? Because I've been trying to figure out where he went, that careful person. When exactly did I become this? He gestured at himself, at his car, at his situation. Was it when I sold the boat? When I took the marker? When I missed my mother's last breath? I didn't have an answer. I think it was earlier than that, Marcus continued. I think it was the first time I told myself I was investing instead of gambling. The first time I made it logical instead of desperate. That's when I lost myself. A security guard was walking toward us. Marcus saw him too. Time to go, he said, starting the car. See you around, Jake. He drove off, and I realized I'd been holding my breath. The security guard approached. Friend of yours? Yeah, I think so. Well, tell your friend he needs to find somewhere else to hang out. This isn't a homeless shelter. Walking back inside, I wondered if I was Marcus's friend or just another part of the machine that had destroyed him. The call came at 2 in the morning. I was dead asleep when my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Is this Jake? The blackjack dealer. Yeah. Who is this? Dr. Patricia Winters. Marcus's sister. I'm at Valley Medical Center. Marcus asked me to call you. I sat up, suddenly awake. Is he okay? He's alive. Barely. Diabetic coma. EMTs found him in his car behind a McDonald's. His blood sugar was over 500. I was already getting dressed. I'll be right there. Jake? He keeps asking about cards. Even unconscious, he's mumbling about hitting on 16, about the count being favorable. It's like his brain is stuck in the casino. Valley Medical was a 20-minute drive that I made in 12. Patricia was waiting in the ICU family room, exhausted and hollow-eyed. She looked like Marcus, but older, more weathered by life. Thank you for coming, she said. I didn't know who else to call. Diane won't answer the phone anymore. Through the window, I could see Marcus connected to machines, for drips, monitors. He looked small in the hospital bed, diminished. How bad is it? Bad. His kidneys are failing. His heart's irregular from the electrolyte imbalance. He's been living on gas station food and bathroom water for weeks. She rubbed her eyes. The doctor says if we'd found him 6 hours later, but you found him. A McDonald's employee did. Marcus had passed out in their parking lot with the car running. Carbon monoxide on top of everything else. Patricia looked through the window at her brother. He had 47 cents in his pocket, Jake. 47 cents and a picture of Sophie. We sat in silence for a while, watching machines keep Marcus alive. He told me about you. Patricia said finally. Said you were the only one who tried to stop him. I didn't try hard enough. Nobody could have. That's what I'm learning. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Around 4 in the morning, Marcus woke up. Groggy, disoriented, but conscious. I was sitting beside his bed when his eyes opened. Jake. Hey, Marcus. Where am I? Hospital. You've been sick. He tried to sit up, couldn't. Sophie? Is Sophie? Okay. She's fine. Your sister's been here all night. Patricia. He smiled weakly. She always was the responsible one. He looked around the room, taking in the machines, the four. How much is this going to cost? Even here, even now, he was calculating. Some habits die hard. Don't worry about that right now, I said. But I need to worry about it. It's all I have left. Problems to solve, debts to pay. His voice was getting stronger, more like the old. Marcus, maybe I can get a cash advance somewhere. There's got to be something. Marcus, stop. He looked at me, really looked, and I saw a flicker of the man he'd been before all this started. I can't stop, Jake. That's the problem. Even now, even here, I'm thinking about how to get back to the table. How to win back everything I lost. He closed his eyes. I'm broken, aren't I? You're sick, I said. But sick can get better. Can. I didn't know, but I hoped. Marcus spent 8 days in the hospital. On day 6, Diane came to see him. She brought Sophie, now walking everywhere, babbling in that almost language that means everything and nothing that I was visiting when they arrived. And the look on Marcus's face when he saw his daughter nearly broke me. Pure joy, mixed with such profound regret that I had to look away. Dada, Sophie said, reaching for him. Diane held her back, but gently. She remembers you, she said. I wasn't sure she would. She's gotten so big. Marcus's voice was thick. I missed so much. You missed everything. There was no anger in Diane's voice, just exhaustion. Her first word was gone. She'd point at your empty chair and say gone. They talked for an hour while Sophie explored the room, fascinated by the machines, the buttons, the lights. Marcus told Diane about the car, about living on scraps, about the 47 cents. She cried, but quietly, like someone who'd already done most of her grieving. I found a job in Phoenix, she said finally. My sister lives there. Better schools, better opportunities. Phoenix. Marcus repeated it like a foreign word. When? Next month. The house is in foreclosure anyway. Might as well start fresh. What about us? Diane looked at Sophie, then back at Marcus. There is no us anymore, Marcus. You made sure of that. But before she left, she did something that surprised everyone. She put Sophie on the bed next to Marcus, let him hold his daughter for 10 minutes. The baby seemed content, playing with his hospital bracelet, babbling at the machines. Be good, Sophie. Marcus whispered into her hair. Be better than your daddy. After they left, Marcus was quiet for a long time. Finally, he looked at me. I need help, he said. Real help. Not just detox or counseling, but, I don't know, something. There are programs. Places for people with gambling problems. I don't have gambling problems, he said. I have hope problems. I keep thinking the next bet will fix everything. Make me the man I was supposed to be. Maybe that's where we start. I hadn't planned to say that, but it felt right. If you want help, I'll help. Whatever that looks like. Marcus closed his eyes. Why? Why would you do that? I thought about Diane's words, about being complicit, about dealing cards while watching someone die by 1,000 cuts. Because I helped break you. I said, maybe I can help fix you too. I owe the casino $320,000, Jake. My credit's destroyed. My family's gone. My career's over. I'm a 44-year-old man with type 1 diabetes and no insurance, living in a Honda Civic. He opened his eyes. What exactly is there to fix? You, I said. There's still you. For the first time in months, Marcus smiled, without calculating the odds. Okay, he said. Let's try.